of New Jersey. Over the last 18 months, I have seen every single day the most horrific, heartbreaking, inhumane images and videos that I have seen in my life of children, families, schools, hospitals being bombed and massacred in Palestine with U.S. weapons paid for by our tax dollars. Just yesterday, I saw a video of a Palestinian father holding his 22-month-old baby who no longer had a head because of a bomb. I'm seeing these things through live videos on social media. It's accessible to everyone and visible to anyone who cares to see. I hear you say that you have always supported Israel and that is how you will continue to be. And earlier you brought up Hamas, but somehow you never seem to bring up the tens of thousands of children and families who are being murdered. Israel is, by definition, by organizations like Amnesty International and many others, committing ethnic cleansing and a genocide, which is the ultimate war crime. They're being allowed to murder and kill and destroy over 50,000 Palestinians, mostly children, with absolutely no consequences, which will give permission for things like this to happen everywhere, including here. So my question is, what is your line that will stop you from voting to send 2,000-pound bombs and billions of dollars in weapons to continue a genocide? What war crime is bad enough for you to see before you will stop sending our tax dollars to kill children?
Genocide issue, but I do have to say this. You know, I've spent a lot of time in the issue of genocide, right? I started a caucus called the Armenian Caucus, and even before the Holocaust, it was genocide against the Armenian people. And I don't believe that this is genocide. I'll tell you why. Because the way I interpret the Genocide Convention, genocide is where you're purposely, intentionally trying to eliminate a people.
That's exactly what they're
I know you think that that's the case. But I don't think it's the case here, so I disagree with that. What I'm saying is this. Obviously, we would like, and hopefully we can put pressure on both sides to try to prevent innocent civilians and women and children from being killed. But the problem is that this war continues, right?
Not
I
a
don't
war,
believe.
genocide. Stop.
Okay. And I don't believe that
Stop killing Jews.
it's going to
And we're
stop.
going the other way.
I don't think it's going to stop unless Hamas is replaced. Now, I'm not saying we have to kill everybody who's a Hamas member, but I don't think that we're ever going to see an end to it unless we can come up with a representative for the Palestinian people and an ultimate state that's not Hamas. And I don't have an easy answer for that. I think that, again, I don't like to talk.
Maybe stop taking money from Israel and then do the right thing.
Well, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to support our disagreement.
Everybody has a chance. Everybody has a turn.
All right, thank you for that. Who's next?
Brett Baker, I live in Edison, New Jersey. Congressman, thank you for the time. I've been calling since the end of July, and on a town hall, you stated the following, that the Palestinian people have a right to self-defense, self-preservation, and self-determination. I was honored by that comment and tried to get this question in, and I realized that I was screened out of asking that question. I was told my question was coming up in a few, and 35 minutes later, the town hall ended. So a few is apparently longer than 35 minutes. I've been calling weekly since then, and emailing since October, to James Johnson on your staff to request time to ask the question that my wife so eloquently asked, which is, what is your red line? James Johnson hasn't responded, your office hasn't returned calls. Respectfully, your district director was passed my number, he hasn't called back. My question is twofold. One is constituent relations. I was hung up on by a staff member last week. I hadn't even gotten my question out. She could just tell. I guess my name is being screened. But the root of my question, I'm honored to hear you say you believe in history, because in the late 90s and early 2000s, when Patrick Leahy of the Senate worked to pass the Leahy Act. The Leahy Act really worked to stronghold protections of American dollars going to foreign governments and other bodies that were to prevent the spread of foreign dollars, prevent the use of them for crimes against humanity. I'm sure you can remember that question. And I heard a huff at the phrase crime against humanity, but we can surely agree. Maybe we disagree on genocide term. By definition, there is a crime against humanity happening. And by law, the United States government has a responsibility to act. So I'm just curious where your line is with respect to the Leahy Act. We don't need to worry about, you're clear on your position, but the Leahy Act is law. The Leahy Act is the responsibility of Congress, specifically the House of Representatives, to hold the State Department responsible to monitoring conditions across the world and the spread of U.S. dollars and for the perpetuation of crimes against humanity. I agree that the Leahy Act could have prevented the Armenian genocide. The Leahy Act may have had influence in European and World War II. So my question is just, where do you stand on the Leahy Act, where it is clear that there are crimes against humanity being committed? Where are you on upholding the law, which is the Leahy Act?
I guess I'm going to repeat myself in saying that I don't believe that Israel is committing crimes against humanity or genocide. And I use the example in the case of the Armenian genocide, in the case of the Holocaust against the Jews in World War II with Hitler, we had tribunals in both cases. I use the Armenian genocide, but you've heard of the Nuremberg trials too. It was similar. In the case of the Armenian genocide, the perpetrators of the genocide, which were the leaders of the Ottoman government, they were brought to trial, and it was proven that they met and decided on a campaign to annihilate the Armenian people. That was an intentional act that was proven at a tribunal. Same thing with Hitler and his
Same thing with Israel.
in World War II.
Same thing.
I don't think that's the case. I think that this is a
Why do you
war,
think that's the case?
but it is not a genocidal war. It is not crimes against humanity.
It is.
All right.
They are literally killing everyone. They made
All right.
it clear no one will be alive in Gaza.
All right, let's go to the next person.
You're gonna hold it to me?
Israel will be eliminated, Hamas said. Israel is required by state.
Have you ever seen it?
Excuse me, we're gonna go on to the next person now.
Guys, they're gonna shut down.
All right, let's try to calm down, because I don't want to have to end this. We supposedly have at least another 45 minutes, so go ahead.
Hello, my name is David Reyes. I'm from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. A January 2025 YouGov poll showed that among the 19 million people who voted for President Biden in 2020 did not vote in 2024. The reason all these people sat out was cited as ending Israel's violence in Gaza. So, people in my generation, we don't want violence, we don't want war, we don't want genocide, we don't want children to die, and it was the #1 reason why they didn't vote. So that also allowed Trump to get elected, because Democrats were not doing their job to stop and to create a ceasefire. Trump just this weekend resumed bombing Israel. Will you speak out against the bombing of innocent people so that voters will not sit out in more elections like the upcoming governor's race? I'm afraid of a Republican governor, and I'm afraid of a Zionist governor as well, coordinating with Trump, of taking away our freedom of rights. So will you please speak up and make sure that you do not support this anymore? Nobody, especially people in my generation who are 25 and to 30, we don't want this. Even ask members of your staff, all their friends, they don't support genocide, they don't support Israel, and they don't support the killing of innocent children. And it needs to stop now.
I guess all I can say is I disagree with you. I think I made that clear. Who else?
Brett Baker, I live in Edison, as my fellow neighbor. I also am a political scientist. In my freshman year, one of the most important lessons I was given at Michigan State was, as a political scientist, our job is to listen first. Listen to understand, listen to learn, listen to grow, listen to develop, and listen to implement. And I've been pleading since July to speak to a member of your staff. I know, as almost the most senior member of the New Jersey delegation, I'm not going to get face-to-face time with you. But I've called your office repeatedly, I've emailed your office repeatedly, I called last week and I was hung up on. October 9th, 2024, Lisa Doutman, a director within the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, said to the UN Security Council, and I quote, "Over the past year, relentless Israeli-issued displacement orders have affected almost 84% of Gaza's territory. Around 90% of Gaza's population is internally displaced. Each day, I continue quoting, According to UNRWA, 10 children are losing one or both of their legs. Gaza is home to the largest cohort of child amputees in modern history. Women are 3 times more likely to miscarry and 3 times more likely to die from childbirth. On March 30th, 2025, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, and I quote from his Twitter, "We will see to the general security in the Gaza Strip and will allow the realization of the Trump plan for voluntary migration. This is the plan. We are not hiding this and are ready to discuss it at any time." My door is open. My phone is open. James Johnson has my email. Convince me how the things I just said are not a genocide. Convince me how the things I just said are not a crime against humanity.
I guess I'm just repeating, I don't think it's genocide or a crime against humanity
Shame on you.
when it's not intentionally done. In other words, I'm no fan of Netanyahu, but the bottom line is that in order for it to be genocide, it has to be intentional, it has to be planned, and I don't think that's what we're seeing in Israel.
One last question.
You're killing old people. You're killing people in wheelchairs. You're killing everyone. What is wrong with you guys? What is wrong with
Did you want to say something?
Why does nobody care? Why does nobody care? You're killing everyone. You're killing children.
And shame on you for being bigger than butter. It's just a money in the pocket. Shame on you.
Hi, my name's
Stole to death. That's who he is.
and I'm a high school student. I had one final question, if that's all right. Congressman,
I hope no one voted for him.
thank you again for your support of the Alzheimer's community.